Are you experiencing knee pain when you're biking, lunging and or squatting, maybe even running, or even just doing daily tasks at home or work? On this episode of Under the Rig, we're going to dive deep into ways that we can help mitigate that pain for the knees and the quadriceps by stretching, looking at flexibility, by doing some different foam rolling techniques, and all the while looking at exercises to strengthen the muscles around that joint. Hey team, before we get started, we're going to preface that what we're about to do here, we're just assuming that there's no structural damage, any meniscus, or things of that nature. So please consult your doctor. This is not just a solution for all knee pain, but in this case, we're going to look at overuse, tendonitis, tight muscles, and we're going to try to address it that way. So with this foam rolling tactic, we're really trying to loosen up the quadriceps. People can experience some tightness and some patellar tendonitis, quadriceps, tendonitis due to overuse and tightness. So I have Dutch here. He's going to be on top of this foam roller with one leg option starting at the top of the knee. And I'm just going to prompt him to slowly, 1 inch per second, take it up about 4 to 6 inches. All right. He's going to put as much pressure as he can hold. It will be slightly painful. And we're going to do this for about 10 passes or so. So go ahead and just rock yourself back into the middle of that quadriceps. Yep. And he's also dictating his pressure through how much he's letting his body go into his legs here. But the key is not going super fast. About 1 second per inch, 1 inch per second. And you might find some knots in here. I would highly recommend if you do to hang out there for a little bit, try to breathe through. But again, we're trying to hit this fascia and loosen up this fascia, that sheath that covers that muscle. And then from there, progressing into a stretch as he's foam rolling. So I'm going to prompt Dutch to lift his heel up towards his butt as high as he can. In this, you might experience a little more pain. Did you experience more pain? He said yes. He's not going to do much talking right here because this does get a little intense. Yeah, so again, taking your time, spend about 10 passes, spend about a minute here. Awesome. And then the third one on this foam roller is called spanning. I'm going to have him almost act as if he's going to smear that muscle across his foam roller. That way he's going against those muscle fibers in the direction that those are running. Yes, because again, the objective is to get that sheath, that myofascia, to try to release. We want to get some blood flow into it. It can get really tight and almost stick to your muscles, and that's why you can experience some of that pain. Awesome. So the second thing we're going to look at after we did that myofascial, after we hit our foam roller, we get some blood flow into that area that we're targeting, is I'm going to have them go into a stretch. We're going to look at some flexibility here. This is one of my favorite that targets the quadriceps and the hip flexors, the psoas, the TFL, is couch stretch. You can use a box, you can use a bench, you can use a wall. It all depends on what your level of flexibility is here. So with that top foot or that back foot is on the top of that box, what I'm looking for is to him get his legs straight down and straight up, and then lean back as far as he can into that heel. That's going to put that quadricep on a stretch. But to be more intentful here is I want him to tuck his pelvis underneath him, engaging his glute. That is where you're going to really feel that stretch because you're putting your hip into full extension, allowing that muscle to stretch. He's actually super flexible, and it probably helped that he did the foam roller first on this side. But again, breathing it out, hold for anywhere from 45 seconds to a minute on this side. We can also go from there. I'm going to have him add his arm up and over his head this way, and then rotating his body. Now, Dutch, where did you feel that at as soon as we did that? Yep, through his lats, through his torso, trying to get into the front of the hip flexor here. All the while still staying engaged in your glutes. Because again, if you're an avid runner, cyclist, you do a lot of weight training and you're doing a lot of quad focused work, all of that is going to get really tight. And that can cause some pain, lack of mobility, inflammation. So we want to loosen this up as much as we can. All right, team, the third tactic or the third thing we want to look at is not just stretching, not just foam rolling and trying to get loose. I feel like when we have pain, the common mistake is just to only focus on stretching that area. We also want to look at the opposite. We want to look at strengthening that opposing muscle group. So quadriceps, that's what we just stretched. That's what we're looking at in terms of the knee pain. We also want to look at the strength of the hamstrings to relieve that pressure of that patella, of that anterior side. So what I have Dutch here hooked up to is just a simple band, an assisted pull-up band. We have it draped over top of his heel. He's just going to lay down in that half cobra position and then simply curl his heels towards his butt. So this is a banded hamstring curl, driving his hips into the floor, making sure his knees don't come up, his hips don't come off the ground. And we're going to do anywhere from 8, 10, 15 reps. It really depends on how thick your band is. I loaded them up this afternoon, making them work. But again, you can see his hamstrings firing here. Don't get caught up in just because you cannot see your muscles on that backside that you neglect them, all right? So if we're experiencing that inflammation in the knees, I want you to think, okay, I need to stretch, I need to smash that area, and then I also need to strengthen the opposing area. And we can do anywhere from 2, 3 sets of this, 10 to 15 reps. The last exercise in this video we're going to look at to strengthen, also lengthen those hamstrings is what they call a Jefferson curl. So I have Dutch elevated here. Height is all dependent on your mobility. You could be on the ground, that's fine. Smaller box, that's fine. You can go unloaded. I have him loaded with a 20-pound dumbbell just to give him a little extra to dive deeper into the stretch. So this Jefferson curl, you're going to start nice and tall, just a soft bend in the knees, nothing crazy, maybe 15 degrees, and then curling down nice and controlled. Hold at the bottom, try to lengthen these vertebrae here, try to put all the emphasis in the middle of those hamstrings, and then intentfully curling your body back up, keeping that dumbbell as close as you can. Good. Nice deep inhale in. Lengthen those hammies, reach beyond those toes if you can. And then again, abs have to stay engaged. You have to be mindful. This is not necessarily a beginner exercise. I should have prefaced with that. But again, take your time here. There's a lot of information going out there these days that, flexing of your spine is wrong. But your spine is meant to flex as well as extend. So as long as you're pain-free through your spine, Dutch, feel okay? All right, let's continue on. And weight's going to vary depending on where you're at. Let's do one more. And I want you to watch how far, if you've been paying attention. Watch where he's at now. Reaching down, reaching down, reaching down. Now past his toes. And do not hesitate to hang out there for a couple breaths. Really try to lengthen. Do you feel your hamstrings engaging on the way up too? So again, we get a double dose here. We get some mobility and we get some strength. Not just the hamstrings, but also your back, your spine, all those muscles running down there. Great job. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Under the Rig, where we really try to add some value and help you with that knee pain if you're experiencing it, running, lunging, squatting, or even on your everyday to-day tasks. Give those things a try, stretching, foam rolling, adding some strengthening exercises to the opposing muscles. Be consistent with it, and we hope that helps. See you next week.